After landing a job in the Western workplace, Chinese professionals often tell me that the skills they learn aren't always the ones they expected, like how to laugh and nod without understanding what a coworker actually said, like kind of knowing what's going on in meetings without knowing exactly. Last week, one of my coachees reminded me of this in a coaching session we had. He came to me and he was basically like, I'm at the same level as my teammate, but I just feel, I don't know, more junior. He's just always so confident. Now, mind you, this is someone who just landed a senior AI product manager role at a big corporation. Before that, he was a senior data scientist. And together, we worked on his interview communication and positioning, and that work helped him to land a promotion and a career switch and one of the hottest job titles right now, all in one move. It was an impressive win for an impressive individual. And yet, that impressive individual still feels intimidated. His manager and teammate are both white. He is Chinese, of course. Both of his managers and teammates are from management consulting backgrounds, and so they speak fast and they sound polished in their native language. And beside them, he feels small. So when he said this to me at first, I wanted to reassure him. I wanted to say something like, no, you're just as good of a communicator. Believe in yourself. But I know how hollow that sounds, especially when you're stuck in a pit of self doubt. So instead, I told him, of course they sound smart. That's been their job for decades, to sound smart. The truth is, they are better than you at running meetings and taking control of discussions and driving their vision forward. And while I paused, I could see the concern rising in his eyes. Like he was like, where are you going with this, John? So I added, all of that's okay. Like you didn't grow up speaking English. You didn't spend years in consulting. You are many years younger than they are. Don't try to out-talk them in meetings. You can't, at least not yet. But you have a golden opportunity to learn from them until one day you can be even better. And until then, you got to use meetings to do what you already do well, which is to bring clarity. Now, as a tactics first type A person, of course, he jumped on this immediately. And he was like, okay, John, I know I know a lot about product. I come from a product background. So I could totally bring that knowledge. But what if I can't even keep up in the meetings? That was a good question. I smiled and I was like, this is how you keep up, by slowing things down and making sure what matters doesn't get lost. After that, I shared two simple strategies with him, the same ones that I want to share with you. These are two ways that you can keep up and lead in meetings, even as an English as a second language speaker. The first tip is if it can wait. If you can wait until after the meeting, then do so. And after the meeting, follow up with a simple message. Something like, hey, I wanted to follow up on what you said about X in the meeting. Things moved fast and I want to make sure I understand it correctly so I can reflect it in next steps. Would you mind recapping your point here? By doing this, you are not admitting weakness. You're not sounding stupid. You are showing care for quality. You want to make sure that important thing is kept and recorded. Now, what if you can't wait until the end of the meeting? What if you really need to know what's going on during the meeting? Well, in that case, you've got to slow the meeting down, but you've got to do it the right way. So you could say something like, I want to revisit what Name said about X because I think it's important. Would you mind recapping it so we're fully aligned? Now, this does three things. First, it adds value to the conversation instead of wasting time. A time-wasting version of this, which a lot of people do, would be to say, oh, I missed that. Can you repeat that, right? Everyone feels like that's a minute of their life that's gone. The second thing is that it makes the other person feel respected. They feel like what they said is important. they're more likely to comply and to repeat what they said. And finally, it shows quiet leadership. It shows an opinion, and it does all of this without needing to contribute anything smart yourself. I guess what I'm saying here is if you, like my coachee, are struggling to keep up and stand out in meetings, I want to tell you that I get it. You're in a messy middle in your career where you're facing real challenges and feeling real pain, and sometimes it might even feel like you're failing. But you aren't failing. You're becoming. And I am really excited to see what you can become. All right, it's melon break time. It's time to 吃瓜. And today's melon break, why white people are saying that they're in a very Chinese time. So, in case you missed it, over the past couple of months, people on TikTok and Instagram and X, the white social media world, have started joking that they are in a very Chinese time or a very Chinese era of their lives. So this version took off when users began applying it to everyday things like Chinese-made gadgets and Chinese food, Chinese apps, Chinese style, even just jokes about things that they do in their life that are kind of Chinese. So the tone of this is very light. It's kind of ironic, self-aware, and like no one's actually claiming to be Chinese. At least I don't think they are. It's more like saying, hey, this Chinese vibe feels really present in my life right now. So this has really taken off, and like even big Western mainstream media noticed it, and then the meme has jumped from just some niche posts into really mainstream feeds. But as with most trends, I think there's more to the story than simply just trending for trending's sake. For a long time, China's presence globally was mostly about products, not culture, right? China would export manufacturing and it would use supply chains for physical goods. But cultural influence, the type that Western audiences would actually consume and quote and would make its way into their life, very rare. The Western world was not really influenced by Chinese culture. But that's what is new right now. For example, in last year, a Chinese animated film like Ne Zha 2 actually went beyond China and hit global theaters in a big way. We're seeing Labubus everywhere now. Just a small random Pop Mart store shows up in Western pop culture, blows up, and now everyone wants one. TikTok isn't just an app from a Chinese company, it now shapes global humor, music, and trends. So my take, as someone who grew up in the Western world, is that when people joke that they're entering a Chinese time in their life, to me it feels less like a random trend and more like a subtle acknowledgement. Chinese culture is finally going global for the first time in a very long time. So if you want to use this naturally during your small talk at work, let's say you're chatting with coworkers, you can say, hey, I heard about a hilarious trend recently. Apparently there's this meme where people say they're in a very Chinese time of their life. As a Chinese, I find that to be whatever, right? Whatever you think about it, whether it's funny or ironic because you're Chinese yourself, it's your space to share. Or if you want to talk about it in a more professional setting, like with your boss, you can say, people online are joking they're in a very Chinese time right now. I always laugh because for me, that phase started at birth. It's interesting how pop culture shifts can naturally stem from subtle cultural shifts as well. Day Up is written, produced, and hosted with love by me, Jonathan Lee. If you want to support high-quality, free podcasting for Chinese professionals, please like and review this podcast. It would mean so much to hear from you. That's all for today. 下次再见，职场小伙伴们。